A very warm evening, everyone. Welcome back to the episode of Fireside Chat at Fireblaze. This is a very special evening. I'm sure that it's an evening for you, for our guest. Let me introduce our guest. Our guest for today is Mr. Anirban Gupta. He has done his MBA from Lancaster University, UK. He has worked with TCS throughout his career since 2008. The beginning was a very humble one. He started as a program manager back in TCS and then climbed ladder in business development, pre-sales in 2015, then innovation evangelist in 2017, and then right now he is business development manager, innovation at Paris and Amsterdam since 2020. He has been expert in business innovation, fostering strategic partnerships, and bringing revenue of more than 45 million pounds in terms of opportunity and in terms of total value of the projects for TCS. These numbers and your journey is really amazing. Let me tell you that you are a special guest for us because generally we have people from tech who perform the tech and people from HR background and founders of startups in the show. Uh, Let me give you a brief understanding about our audience for today. So, Fireblaze is an edtech company based out of India, Nagpur, Maharashtra predominantly. We have learning centers in central India as well as in southern India as well. In terms of online, we have reach across India and US and European region. The students are from there as well. Predominantly in the data science, analytics, AI, full stack domain. The company is a startup started in 2017, and we have learners from three segments. So the audience which would be listening us sitting in the classroom, few would be joining in here, few would be listening on different social media live. Okay. So these would be from three categories. First would be college going students who are in MBA or BBA or engineering colleges predominantly. Then there would be people who are freshers and looking up to dive in or start their careers. And then there would be uh, early career professionals like 0 to 5 years of experience folks who want to move into this tech innovations domain. Okay, so this was a short introduction of both the sides for you and the audience, but I could just get your introduction from whatever is present on the internet. I would first love to understand your journey from your perspective, how it all started, and then I want to know how are you there, what were the hurdles, and how you started.
Sure. So first of all, good morning, good evening, or good afternoon from wherever you're joining today. Pleased to be here. And when Apeksha had reached out to me, I think almost 3 to 4 weeks ago, we have been trying to find out a date, but unfortunately I was traveling for the last couple of weekends, so I couldn't join. But I'm pleased to be here today. So what I will do is, let me just share my story. And I am a person who likes to share whatever I do in stories, because I feel that stories immediately helps you connect with a lot of people. And we human beings essentially grew up listening to stories, and we like to think in stories also. So let me take you through my journey. So I started my career in TCS in 2008, a fresh engineering graduate out of college with tremendous hope and ambition to change the world. And So when I joined, the first culture shock that I got was when you work in a large corporate like TCS versus when you come from your college or university, there is first and foremost a phase when you need to adapt. It's not about your technical skills, but it is also about understanding how to work in that particular organization and understand the culture of the organization. And I would reiterate this phrase a lot of times during the next 1 hour or so, that culture is a very important aspect in whatever we do. And we need to understand that a lot of the times, a lot of decisions which are taken by people, by organizations, by countries, is defined by the culture of that place. So first was to understand the culture of the organization. However, what I have always tried to do in my journey so far is whenever I have felt that I have done a particular role for a particular period of time, after which I'm not really able to learn anything new, and I'm not going to be progressing any further in terms of my learning, especially, I have always switched and tried out something else. And this is, if I may say, my mantra, that I will always try to push myself and challenge myself to do things which probably is difficult, but I also know that if I don't push myself out of my comfort zone, then I will not grow. So to begin with, when I joined TCS, I was a programmer for the first couple of years of my journey, and then I got my first challenge. One is writing your own codes, but then I was given a team, and I was asked to manage them, to help them and manage them to write their codes and finish the deadlines on time. So that was my first experience of managing a team, and it comes with its different set of challenges. When you're doing your own work, you're only focused on delivering and you're only focused on your deadlines. But when you're managing a team, you're responsible for their deliveries and their deadlines as well. So that teaches you something. Now, while I was doing this, I always wanted to be in front of customers. I was doing this job from TCS in India, but I always used to ask myself this question, and I would encourage all of you also to think like this, that when you have to write a piece of code and when you get a requirement, put yourself in the user's shoe. That why is this important for the user? Don't look at it simply like a coding problem or a coding challenge to solve. Think that what would this benefit the other person with? And then try to look at the implementation. That will make you way more empathetic, and that always removes a lot of friction that you always have with the teams who are upstream, essentially the teams who are giving you the requirements, and the teams who are downstream, who are essentially implementing. There is always this to and fro. So for me to understand that why customers give me a requirement in a specific manner and a specific way, I wanted to be at the customer's location and understand from their point of view. So with that intention, I moved to the UK in 2012. That was my first overseas assignment. It was with TCS, and I was there for 1.5 years. And that really opened my mind again to a different culture in terms of how people outside or how people, especially in UK, think like and how they decide things. And again, culture plays a big role in terms of all of the ways in which we work and we don't work. So that was the first experience. And then I again came back to India and I was continuing my journey with TCS. But then I realized that while I have learned how customers react and think when they're giving you requirements, there was still something missing. I am not able to still connect with the business outcomes and the business objectives. And I felt that my knowledge will not be complete if I don't do a business degree. So in 2014, I took a break from TCS for almost 1.5 years to 2 years, and I went to the UK once again. And the reason I went to the UK is I already knew the UK. So culturally, as well as a place, going to a new place, trying to settle in while completing your business studies can be challenging. So I went back to the UK for 1 year. I was with the Lancaster University. Lancaster University's MBA at that point of time was one of the top 50 MBAs globally. So what it also did was it again helped me open my eyes in a different perspective. Not only did I learn how businesses think and how businesses work, But again, I will come back to that word, culture. So I had a class of 36 students from 22 different countries. Now, I don't think that you're going to get this kind of a cultural exposure anywhere else. And when I was working with, or I was spending my 1 year all the time with all of these people from different parts of the world, from Japan, from South Korea, from US, from Germany, from Sweden, name it, you had representatives from each and every continent. It again opens up your mind and it makes you see world and the world in a very different manner. Why do Japanese people think in a particular way for a similar kind of a problem statement and situation compared to how the Europeans think? That is also something which is very essential to understand when you are doing business, when you're doing innovation, and also when you're writing code. And that is why I will come to this point later on. That is why it is very important for today for AI also to understand these cultures. Only then AI can start uh, being helpful to human beings. AI cannot just be a tool which just does things because it can do things. It has to understand the culture, context, all of these things. So after my MBA, I came back to TCS once again, and then I started working in the business side of TCS. However, because of my technical background and the fact that I was a hands-on coder, I was able to understand a lot of these discussions better than a lot of my peers who were purely from the business side. So again, if anyone over here is thinking that should I just be in technology or should I just be in business, my advice will be try your hands out in each of these places, because it will give you a perspective which other people will not have, and that helps you. So I did this business development work in TCS for some time after I came back. And during this point of time, I also had an opportunity to spend some time in Australia. And when I went to Australia, again, I saw a different perspective. Fun fact, Australia is almost 4 times the size of India, but the entire population of Australia probably is less than the city of Delhi. Because Australia as a continent is large, but only 92% or 92% of the continent is inhabitable. So
Mm.
people can only live in the coasts, which means that they do not have a lot of resources. So whatever investments they make, they have to be extremely careful, which also means that the businesses which are there in Australia needs local support. They cannot start importing a lot of services from outside, which also meant that for a company like TCS, it was always difficult because we were essentially IT service providers from a different country. But we needed to understand the culture, the context, why Australian customers will think and behave in a particular manner so that we could do business in that particular place. So after Australia, I got a chance to move to Amsterdam, and this was in 2020 between COVID, and that was again an amazing experience going to a different country when the entire world was shut down. You could not go to office, and you just had to be at home in a different place all by yourself. So that was initially challenging, but then again, it also teaches you something about yourself. It teaches you about resilience. It teaches you the importance of having friends, family to take you through these kind of difficult phases. So I was in Amsterdam for a couple of years, from 2020 December to 2022 December, and then I realized that I am again reaching a stage where I'm not learning or growing anymore. So I shifted to Paris. So from 2022 December, I am in Paris, and currently what I do is I lead TCS's research and innovation activities for the European market, which means that in my role, I get to meet a lot of people throughout the week, be it from Paris, be it from TCS, be it outside TCS. So I do get to engage with a lot of research scientists who speak a completely different language, which sometimes is very difficult to understand. But then again, it is my job. I cannot go and tell the same language to my customers because they will also not be able to understand. So I need to understand what trying to say in a very simple, easy to understand language and then translate it back to my customers in a business language which makes sense for them without killing the real power of the research capability. Secondly, I have a chance to work on a day-to-day basis with startups, universities, And there is so much energy, passion, innovation which exists out there. It is crazy. And that is extremely inspiring and motivating for me as well. So this is in a nutshell my journey so far with TCS. And if you have any questions around this journey, I would be happy to answer that.
I mean, the journey is wonderful. I mean, from where you started and where you are right now, it's a wonderful journey. Lots and lots of learning might be there, and the challenges might be there throughout. I'm very sure about them. Um, Multiple branches of questions are coming in my mind to ask you at different stages. Let me go back uh, to the fresher part wherein you just joined and you were working on the tech side. So
Yeah.
you have a tech background, right? Now, why did you thought, like, I mean, it's a general trend that people who join MNCs right after graduation from engineering colleges, they generally for 2 to 3 years work, and then they either do masters in MBA or they go for higher education in the same technical domain, right? Why did you felt that you need to do MBA?
Okay. So honestly, it's a bit of how do I say FOMO at that point of time, because all of my friends were doing MBA, so I thought that that's the right thing to do. But then I realized that I did not really also immediately jump into the bandwagon, because most of my friends, as you rightly mentioned, they went for their MBA maybe 2 to 3 years after they joined TCS. But I did my MBA 6 years after joining TCS. So by that point of time, I had uh, the thing is, like, I never wanted to do my MBA from India because I also wanted this international exposure. So I wrote my GMAT, and the good thing, or maybe the not so good thing about GMAT is your score is valid for 5 years. So although I gave my GMAT, I was not really taking the plunge to go and apply in a university and do my MBA. So I was sitting on it, because somewhere I was also not sure whether I should just do MBA because everyone else is doing MBA. So I'm glad that I did not just immediately jump into the bandwagon. I let life figure it out for myself. In terms of, and then what really helped me is when I went to the UK for my first on-site stint, I saw that I had a knack of being able to communicate well with our customers, which means that I then got this perspective that I would like to be in this side of the journey where I am in front of the customer, I am representing TCS, I am that ambassador for TCS. And by the way, when I realized this, I realized that in order to be this kind of a person, there were certain things that I needed to do. First is obviously understanding of business, which is why I thought that MBA is important, but also your presentation and communication skills are very important. And communication does not mean that it's not just about speaking, it's also about listening, understanding, analyzing, and then responding. So in order to help me achieve the second bit, I joined Toastmasters. And
Yeah,
Toastmasters is essentially a program which helps you to improve your public speaking and communication skills. It is also a leadership program in some shape or form. So Toastmasters I joined in 2009, and till date I'm still with Toastmasters. So Toastmasters has also been like the second career for me, if you may say. TCS from 2008, Toastmasters from 2009, and I'm still there. The reason why I've been doing this for all of these times is a couple of things. First is via Toastmasters, I could continue to challenge my presentation skills. And again, I have been a Toastmaster in each of the places I have been to. I've been a Toastmaster in India, in UK, in Australia, in Amsterdam, and now in Paris. And again, in each of these places, the communication style changes based on what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. For example, there are certain topics which I just cannot speak about in India, but it is acceptable maybe in a Western culture, and vice versa. There are certain things that are not acceptable in Western culture, but is acceptable in India. So when you have a place and a space to try out these things and learn from these things, then you don't make those mistakes in a business context. When you are having those business conversations, you already know that, okay, this is something which is acceptable, which is not acceptable. So that helped me. And to answer your question, coming back to your question, why I decided to do MBA was primarily for a couple of things. One was I wanted to understand how businesses work, but also when you work for a company like TCS, where you have close to 600,000 people today, you need something extra which can help you to move forward. And that something extra for me has been Toastmasters and has been this MBA. A combination of these two has helped me to gradually move forward in TCS, because these things have helped me to crack opportunities or be considered for opportunities which probably I wouldn't have been considered for if I would have just followed the regular path. I'm not saying that it does not work for people if they follow the regular path, but I did not want to wait for a long time. I always wanted accelerated growth. So that's why I decided to do MBA. So yes, it was a mixture of everyone else is doing it, I need to do it, but figuring out that why I need to do it and when I need to go for it. And finally, after I came back, how I can use the MBA to move forward in TCS.
Makes sense. I am little curious to know more about Toastmasters. I mean, I have few seniors and juniors who have been associated with TCS, generally taking part in this. So, is it a club within TCS, or is it a different entity which does presentations? Or, I mean, can you throw some light what
Yeah.
the entire Toastmaster is all about?
Sure. So I don't want to turn this into an advertisement for Toastmasters, but in general, Toastmasters is an international entity which was founded in the US in 1900 in the beginning of 1900s.
Okay.
And there is a very interesting story why Toastmasters started. So what used to happen is during those days after dinner, everyone used to gather and they were asked to raise a toast for someone to celebrate their success or something. And there was this gentleman whose name is Ralph Smedley, who realized that people literally struggled to speak when they were put on the spot. So they did not know that what they could speak, or how they can raise a toast, how they can praise people without sounding not genuine, or how they can do it within a specific specific phase in time. Like you cannot just keep on speaking for 20-30 minutes. So with this idea, he started this society which he called as Toastmasters, which essentially was to help people master the art of giving toasts. So that is why the name came, Toastmasters. However, gradually it graduated or changed into something much more bigger. It is a public speaking and leadership program. Now, you would see a lot of people within TCS doing this, because the way it works is it follows it follows the structure of Rotary clubs. I don't know how many of you have heard about Rotary clubs.
Yeah.
So there is a central body, and then
Ah,
you have local
okay.
chapters.
Correct.
So within each and every TCS office or a TCS facility, there are local chapters of Toastmasters clubs. And
Okay.
as an organization, TCS also encourages people to participate in Toastmasters, because it also helps people improve their public speaking skills. However, we don't have Toastmasters in TCS in Europe. So I'm part of a Toastmasters club, which is outside TCS. And Toastmasters doesn't need to be associated with the organization only. It can be formed by any group of people greater than 18 years old, and essentially people need to pay a small membership fee. But end of the day, it is also a place where a community comes together and they are all trying to help each other to improve their public speaking and leadership skills. So if any one of you are interested to know about Toastmasters, you can obviously check on Google. You can also go to YouTube and see some of the speakers from Toastmasters delivering their speeches. It is a mixture of Rotary clubs in terms of the organizational structure, but the format is like TED Talks, where you go and speak in front of a group of people. But in TED Talks, people speak professionally. Over here, we do not have any experts. All of us are trying to learn from each other. No one will come to Toastmasters and say that, hey, I'm an expert. Everyone is learning from each other, and people also get constructive feedback from other members in the club. So that is in a nutshell what Toastmasters is.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I mean, lots of bodies are there, but I have not seen a body which is focusing on how to raise a toast and building confidence of public speaking. Glad to know about it. Now, you mentioned about the culture, right?
Hmm.
Uh, so my next question, but I probably have an answer. You can wrap it up in a bit. Why TCS again after MBA?
Why TCS again after an MBA? So here's the thing. Um, TCS may be a single organization for all of us who are not working for TCS, but when you join TCS and when you're a part of TCS, you will see that there are so many different organizations within this large organization called as TCS. So if I look at my journey, I started my journey in the life sciences industry for TCS. So my first customer for whom I was working was a US based life sciences major. Now, then, when I moved to the UK for my first assignment abroad, it was for a retail customer.
Oh,
Now, although this is both the life sciences industry and the retail industries within TCS, when you move from life sciences industry to the retail industry internally, also, it's like changing a company because again different kinds of challenges, different sets of people, so there is always this period of adjusting to the new one. Then this is based on industry verticals. Second comes roles. So after I came back from MBA, I was working in business development, which was completely different to coding, project management, etc. And now I am working in a pure sales consulting role, again in a different geography. So, firstly, so far I have been with TCS because of the reason that I feel that I still can grow within TCS and I can still learn a lot from TCS. Secondly, TCS has given me the flexibility and the opportunity, and I'm thankful for that, to play these different roles, move to these different markets, which have not only helped me to grow professionally but also personally. So till the time I feel that I can gain that kind of a thing from an organization like TCS, I would always be thinking that does it really make sense to try out something else at this point of time?
makes sense. Makes sense. Uh, since you have been traveling and being at the epicenter of tech and the business world, how have the technology changed and the demand of customers changed over the period of time in general, without taking geographies into consideration? How, because now everyone is talking about AI and predominantly about Gen AI. You have been around since 2008, so probably that time it was the world of Java, .NET, and then it has slightly shifted. So, what do you think? What's going on right now with? So, I mean, I want you to answer it with respect to a young grad who now wants to get or give a shot in around tech.
Sure. Okay. So first and foremost, whoever is in the tech field, never ever feel that tech is going to be and going to become useless. Technology will always be there, and technology will always be a very big enabler for whatever happens in this world, and it's going to become more and more. What we need to understand is what we will still need to understand though is technology at the end of the day is always a commodity. You cannot be hung up on a particular technology and say that I don't want to learn new technology, because if there is one thing which is going to always happen in the world of technology is new technology is going to come in, and there is going to be progress in the existing technology. However, end of the day, till the time we are working with people and we are not selling technologies to a robot, for example, we will always have that human element. So you always have to think that whenever there is a technology, like as I mentioned, you are absolutely correct that when I started, I was building websites in ASP.NET. But at that point of time, if I would only look at the problem from the perspective of a coder, then I would make a mistake, which I used to make at that point of time. I was always hung up so much on my code that I have written this code. I think it's a brilliant code. Why will the customer not like it? Why is the customer asking me to change the logic? And I always used to think from the perspective of a coder. but you have to think from the perspective of the user who is going to consume that technology. Similarly, today, if you look at AI, there are so many AI tools, etc. But end of the day, I'll give you a simple example. Today, in the travel industry, when you if you want to say that, okay, for an airline industry, for an airline customer, I'm going to just completely move their FAQ segment or customer service desk to a chatbot, and the chatbot will do whatever is required. Now, if the chatbot is logic based and will only answer in yes and no, it does not understand empathy, sympathy. So if someone's flight is cancelled and they need to attend somewhere which is extremely important, when that person calls, the chatbot does not have that empathy. Does it mean the technology is wrong? No, the technology is not wrong. The technology is absolutely perfect and the technology is working well. But the technology does not have the human element built into it. So, what I would suggest to all of you is do not get hung up on technology first and foremost. Always be open to understanding that technology will change. And your key differentiator or the differentiator that you can bring is not just doing the or writing the code, because gradually we will have more such tools who can probably do the coding for you. It is about application of the technology in a particular domain industry context, and sometimes for a person, which is the differentiator. So always keep that in mind, that while technology will keep on changing, new technology will keep on coming, your understanding of the technology first and foremost is very important. Because if you have to go and make someone understand that why AI is not going to replace them, you first need to believe it yourself. And you can only believe it yourself if you play around with the technology and understand whether it works or not. You don't need to be an expert in every technology, but you need to be hands-on. So today I am in consulting and sales, but I'm still playing around with AI almost every minute and every day, because I need to know that if I have to go and convince someone to take or not to take AI, I need to first of all understand that why that system will or will not work. And I can only do that by playing around with the technology. So please be curious, always experiment, make mistakes. There is no harm in making mistakes, and it is important to make mistakes. Technology will never be replaced. Technology will always be there, but technology will keep on changing. Differentiator is not technology. Differentiator is application of technology.
Correct. The positioning of the technology should be absolutely correct with respect to what you are trying to do. Makes sense. In terms of geographies,
Yeah.
how is AI building up? I mean, Indian government is focusing a lot on upskilling and making India at a front foot, positioning India at a front foot of AI. It is said that globally we have the largest resource and pool of AI talent. Is the demand rising and people are now knowing where to use? Because this was the problem which I used to feel little back, that customers are not able to understand where to utilize AI, and then we need to make sure that they do, so
Yeah.
that whatever supplies in terms of talent we are creating in-house in the country would be absorbed and would be positioned. Because generally what happens is, in an MNC, people are absorbed, and then according to the project the resource are being deployed. You don't know where you would be put in. You have to adjust to whatever you are. But nowadays everyone is getting upskilled in AI and being ready. So is it still challenging to convince, or is it done that the clients already know where to use? Or how what role do you play in to make sure to tell a customer the use of AI, and are they convinced? How is that area? Because the more you would be able to relate their business to AI, the absorption in our country would be more of the talent indirectly, because that's how the
Yeah.
domain work, right?
Sure. Sure. So let me start with one statement which I tell to almost all of my customers. Generative AI is not the only AI.
Correct.
Because the ChatGPT moment happened, everyone started thinking that that is AI. But it is just one part or one type of AI. If
Correct.
you look at AI in general, that has been in existence for a long time. And even before this ChatGPT moment happened, customers were using AI in different shapes and forms, whether they were calling it as automation, whether they were calling it as something else, it was always there and it will continue to be there. So, firstly, let us not think that, okay, because customers have now started or customers have been investing a lot in generative AI prototypes and POCs, but not moving into production, they're not using AI. That is first and foremost a wrong statement. Now, coming back to what has happened over the last couple of years, yes, when generative AI came in, it was a different kind of a technology which people were used to because for the first time, um, people were able to interact with an AI without having any knowledge of coding.
Correct.
So basically, the question that you ask is essentially your coding skill, prompt engineering. So that was how do I say, a very important milestone in the journey of AI, and which kind of democratized AI for everyone to use. Today, you don't really need to know how ChatGPT works, but if you know how to ask the right question, you will get brilliant response from ChatGPT. So what this resulted in is almost every organization started experimenting in-house with this kind of a technology on a variety of use cases. Now, the good thing is because they have done so many experiments and also this technology has rapidly progressed and matured, now almost every customer that I talk to, they know that which use cases they don't want to go after using this technology. So at least that bit is clear. Now, that does not mean that they know that how they will be able to get the maximum benefit of this technology and the use cases where they want to invest in. They have ideas, but still it needs some kind of experimentation, which also means that there is always going to be demand for this technology and more people will be required to move to this technology. In fact, what I would even go ahead and say is AI generally or gradually is not just a technology anymore. It is becoming a powerful tool for nations. So essentially, there is an AI race, like the arms race, that who has the best AI. And you will be seeing that China almost every day is coming up with new models.
Audience.
So while the likes of China, US, and all the major countries are going to look at AI from that aspect, which means that AI is going to become a part of the uh, how do I say, national security agenda, so as to say, in the near future, which means that people will also require more people who knows AI, how to use AI. So that is the first key message. Second message is that different countries are looking at AI or implementation of AI in different ways. Europe today has come up with a regulation, which they call it as EU AI Act, which creates a set of laws which restricts certain usage of AI. Whereas other countries like China, US, and even India today does not really have such strict regulations. But eventually, there is a possibility that all of these countries will also start bringing in certain kind of regulations. So it is also important to stay up to date in terms of these regulations which are coming in, because once you have a technology which is so powerful and which is moving at such a rapid speed, you need some kind of governance to control that technology. The difference between AI and nuclear weapon is nuclear weapon, the technology is still only in the hands of very few people, and there are very strict guardrails. Today, AI is sort of democratized, and anyone can do anything with AI today. You can essentially deepfake anyone in a matter of seconds. So, where are those laws? Where are those governance models? Where are those compliance rules in place? So, that will be another emerging area in AI where people should keep an eye out for, because a lot of jobs will be created over there. That how do you create champions of ethical AI, and each and every company gradually will also require people like that. So one is core AI developers and engineers, which will always be there. Second is these kind of ethical AI champions who understands that what kind of guardrails, etc., should be put around AI so that it does not go out of hand. And third is people people who can essentially connect all these dots together, who can do the storytelling. As I again mentioned, that even today for a layman, AI seems to be something which is coming to take away their jobs, and that is the answer that I almost have to give to every customer that I meet today. It is partially true, but it is also not, or that day is still very far away when an AI is going to come and replace all of us. But one thing which I tell everyone, which I would also mention in this forum, that AI is not going to replace any one of us, but a person who is using AI will definitely replace us. So we should be willing to learn and embrace this technology without being scared. And you can do it in your personal capacity as well. So yes, there is a lot of demand which is going to come from AI, but we need to be tactical and strategic in terms of understanding where the demand is coming. So regulation is a very important area. Developers in AI will be an important area. Please, please, please learn prompt engineering, because if you know prompt engineering, you will be kind of the developer of the future, because in future, people need to write these prompts so that you can get the right kind of responses from the models. So these are the three areas which I would request people to focus on.
Absolutely well summarized. I mean, ethical AI, policy making, and yes, the prompt engineering. These are the areas within the AI which are moving at very fast pace. Apart from the AI, do you see any other domain or technology moving rapidly, like cybersecurity? Because again, when the data increases, the threats increases, and then you need people to secure them. So cybersecurity or automation or quantum or semiconductor or sustainability. Is there any other, because the West or European region are more cautious about sustainability, and sustainability and AI are somehow related. So
Hmm.
where do you think is the second shift going on? Which is not related to the AI part? Any other technology or area?
Yeah. So again, this is my opinion, not necessarily the opinion of the industry or TCS, but I feel that the next big technology, or the next big thing in technology, is quantum.
Okay.
And I'm mentioning this because I am also pretty much part of this quantum ecosystem, and I'm seeing that how rapidly it is moving. However, quantum first of all needs a chat GPT moment, because without that chat GPT moment, the investment will not really come into the technology. The technology is still, I would say, 5 years away, based on its current speed in which it is moving. But if there is a chat GPT moment in quantum, immediately it will accelerate.
Okay.
However, when you have quantum computers, there is no point solving the current problems with quantum computers. So we will need to understand the problems that we want to solve using quantum computers. So that will again go through some period of understanding. The other area where there is a lot of investment happening is space technology, and I think India is also pretty much in the game of this. Space technology, or space, as they say, is the next big frontier. So a lot of investment is getting into space technology, and space technology is not just about sending satellites or rockets into the atmosphere, or enabling travel to moon and stuff. But space technology is also about using satellite imagery, lower orbit satellites, drones, etc., to monitor things which are happening on the ground. It can be in the area of agriculture, it can be in the area of smart cities. So a lot of these technologies will enable these kind of opportunities. So quantum, space tech, these are two important aspects. Sustainability is obviously there, but sustainability again needs technology to rapidly progress. For example, there are two types of technology which needs to rapidly progress and mature for sustainability to really start showing, or the sustainability initiatives to really start showing results. One is carbon capture technology. So how do you capture excess carbon from the atmosphere? Today we have certain technologies, but still it is not really good enough to work at a global scale. Second is rapidly moving to new kind of technologies, renewables. And I'm not talking about batteries, EVs, but how do you harness solar? How do you harness hydraulic? How do you harness wind? And finally, hydrogen. Hydrogen is also an area where a lot of investment is happening, and hopefully within the next few years, we will be having hydrogen powered vehicles. Because when you have hydrogen powered vehicles, that is a truly sustainable vehicle. Even EV is not 100% sustainable, because although EV works, it is not really a practical replacement of fossil fuel today.
Absolutely. I mean, this gives a very broad spectrum about how the things are moving. What advice would you give an aspiring aspirant who wants to build a career in terms of innovation? Because now you have seen the entire trajectory. You have joined the company as a developer and then moved into a business side, and then now are into innovation and sales. If you were to start again now,
Hmm.
according to that, what advice would you give someone?
First and foremost, I think the most important thing that all of us should have if you want to move into a career like innovation is curiosity, and curiosity about everything. You should try to understand when you see a technology, just don't think that why ChatGPT is answering like this. Try to go one level down, how the transformer decoder architecture works. You don't need to be an expert, but if you understand one level down, it will help you consume and understand a lot of these concepts better. So first is having this curiosity about technology underlying. Second is curiosity to play around with technology. Today, everyone is talking about this idea called as agentic AI, where
Correct.
essentially you have group of AI agents which can work for you. But to be honest with you, like I have been, I won't say those are pure agents, but I have been building similar kind of programs on my iPhone for a long time now. We just call those as shortcuts. So
Yes.
so you can essentially just create a set of tasks which will happen one by one based on certain events happening. So that is
Correct.
also sort of an agent, but it's just that now you have this new fancy term called as agentic AI, and everyone is jumping on the bandwagon. So what I would say is we all are surrounded by different kinds of opportunities, technology. There is no barrier to consuming knowledge today. So if someone comes and says that I really cannot find out enough interesting material to learn about a technology that was true maybe 5 years back, today it is not true. So you always have to push yourself to learn new things, and you always have to have that curiosity and open mind to experiment. But more than all of these, you have to ask yourself this question. Just because I'm listening to a person who's working in business development, innovation, seems like that he travels around the world, sounds very interesting, so I should also do it. That should not be the way you should look at things. Just because I am doing something, it is working for me, does not mean that it is the right path for you. So you have to ask yourself. And yes, it is not possible. If you asked me in 2008 that did you know that in 2025 you will be sitting in Paris doing this piece of work, I would say no, not at all. And because I had no idea where I would be going, or eventually how the path will figure itself out. But at least I had some basic ideas in terms of it is maybe not possible to know that what you want to do in the next 5 years, but I think more or less all of us can answer this question: what is it that I don't want to do? So even if you don't know what you want to do, just answer that what is it that you don't want to do. Then it at least gives you some kind of a direction. And I knew that I did not want to just sit in a desk and be a programmer for the rest of my life. There is nothing wrong in that, by the way. It is just that it was not something which I wanted to be. And then I gradually figured out that I really like to go and talk to people. I like networking. I like to be in front of customers. So that is the path I then gradually gravitated towards, and then things gradually fell in place. So ask yourself this question: what is it that I want to do? You may not have an answer, which is absolutely fine, but still you need to ask yourself this question. Secondly, always play around with technology. Do not wait for a technology to become matured, because by then everyone already knows about the technology. So be an early adapter of a technology, be an early player in terms of playing around with different tools, make mistakes. It is absolutely fine. But at least have this curiosity and ask a lot of questions. Because when you ask questions, your brain starts thinking more, and then you actually figure things out better.
How to feed the curiosity? I mean, like, do you follow any blog or YouTube channel or read books? How do you feed your curiosity?
Yeah. See, I use LinkedIn as the medium via which I consume a lot of my information. But then again, LinkedIn also, there are so many different point of views. So
Correct.
I have categorized my LinkedIn feed into specific domains. One is there are a group of AI influencers on LinkedIn who essentially just posts about different tools which are coming out. They
Correct.
don't really share any perspective that they have. They just repost. So that is my source to understand and find out about new tools. So I just use it for that purpose. So that is one. Second is then there is a group of influencers who are actually going one level down. They are sharing their own perspectives about a particular tool. And again, the point is it is not about going and trying out each and every tool. It is about understanding that which all areas. Don't think about the tools. Let's look at generative AI. If I just look at it, there is text. So for text, you have so many different LLMs. So which are those two, three LLMs that you want to try out? Then you have image. Then for image, you have DALI, you have Midjourney, you have all of these tools. Again, pick up maybe one or two. So, first of all, understanding that what is happening across the landscape, then reading a little bit further from these specific influences. And thirdly, which I feel is the most important bit, every week I set aside at least 2 to 3 hours over the weekend to play around with these technologies. And the reason why I'm doing this is to understand that whether it is all about hype or there is some substance to this hype. So that is the first thing. Second is that it also helps me understand the technology. So yes, I consume a lot of information from LinkedIn, but it has to be from reputable sources.
Correct.
Okay, there are so many sources of information. Just don't blindly believe what you see on the internet, even if it is coming from a reputable source. Only believe it once you have tried it out. So the final proof point has to be hands-on. Until that time happens, everything that you read is on paper. But to answer your questions, that is one source. Secondly, I also attend a lot of industry events because I'm here in Paris. There are always industry events happening. So I will go, and then you get to see different kinds of perspectives from different players. So that also kind of helps you.
The biggest event of this year, the AI Paris Summit, happened
Yeah,
last week itself,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Did you got chance to visit?
I was not part of the main event because it was a restricted event, mostly attended by politicians, etc. But I did attend a lot of side events. So
Okay.
when this event was happening in Paris, there were a lot of side events happening. So I was in one of these events where the head of AI for Meta, he was speaking. So again, you see a lot of perspectives, and to be honest, if anyone in this audience is feeling overwhelmed that there are so many tools, so much going on in the world of AI, don't feel like that because you're not alone. Even the top leaders in these big companies, they are also having the same problem. And I was listening to a futurist who coined a very interesting term during this AI Summit side event. He said that there will be a time when an AI fatigue will come in, when people will be fatigued with so much of AI. And then he's saying that sometime within the next 10 years, made by human is going to be a very big thing. Like today, it
True.
is made by AI.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
When something is created by a human being and it has a watermark made by human, that will have a very big impact. So
Okay.
whether this will happen or not, we will see. But again, the point is that yes, we are all in this together at different stages of our lives, at different stages of our journey. But it is not like that you are yourself in terms of being overwhelmed. Everyone is overwhelmed. So it is important to figure out the substance from the noise. And that is where you need to try things out by yourself. Only then you will know.
Pretty much makes sense. You have given a very broad perspective around the area. Uh, One very simple layman question from my end. This would be a concluding question, not related to tech, but from a business standpoint. How easy or how difficult is it to get a business from the West? Or what is the roadmap in general? Because a lot of founders and entrepreneurs as well listen, and I am in dialogue with. They say that clients in India are not good, but the very big uh, capitally invested projects, obviously, they are being bid by the top MNCs across the world. Everyone competes, right?
Hmm.
So, since you might be having conversations with a lot of new customers or prospects over there, so how is the roadmap? How does thing work?
Okay, let me put it this way. If we have to solve the problem of overpopulation on this planet, I can give you a simple solution. Let us all go to Mars. It will solve the problem. It solves the problem, right? But
Correct.
is it practical? Is it feasible? Is it implementable? Answer is no. So the first thing is you can go and paint a rosy picture in front of every customer, but end of the day, they will only buy something which is possible, which makes sense, and which is going to address their needs. So first and foremost, it is very important to understand the person's challenge and problem rather than going in with a solution and saying that, hey, here is my solution, sell it. Like that classic question, sell me this pen. If you go and start talking about the pen, you will never be able to sell the pen. You have to always create a need. So you have to first of all understand the need. And the need can only be understood if you really bring in empathy into the discussion. You cannot just be there and try to give your solution. So the way I look at this as my job as a consultant and a salesman is I'm like a doctor. So if a patient comes to me and sits down and I immediately say, okay, take paracetamol without even understanding what the patient is going through, will the patient be happy? No. So when we go to a doctor or a lawyer, what do? We speak, and they just listen. So when you are trying to sell technology also, for the first few meetings, you should let the other person talk 90% of the time. And that again is a very difficult skill to acquire, and it took a lot of time for me, because when you hear a question, immediately you are starting to think about the solution and you want to speak about it, but it will not work like that. And here's a small psychological thing: the more you listen to people, the more people start liking you, because people really like people who listen to them. And it is across all cultures. It is not Western, it's not Eastern, it is a human trait. Having said that, there are certain specific things also which you need to be aware of in the Western world also. And when I say about the Western world, selling in the US is very difficult, is very different to selling in Europe. Because in Europe, one of the major factors which comes into the picture is the local language and the culture. So the reason why a French customer will buy from me versus the reason why a German customer will buy from me are different. French people like to do their business discussions over a glass of wine or a really nice dinner. And it is something that you need to understand. And here's the thing: when you are having that glass of wine and dinner, you're not supposed to talk about business. But if you do not have that discussion, then you will never be able to have the other discussions. So, firstly, understanding how people are from a particular language, from a particular place, being open to their culture, learning a little bit about their culture also helps. So, these are some of the things which I personally follow. Uh, and at the end of the day, I will tell you, selling something to someone is always difficult, because end of the day, selling something is all about a matter of trust. So people will not buy from you because they like the product. They will buy from you because they trust you. That is why you have some amazing car salespeople who can literally convince you with their words, and you are not buying the car because you like the car. You like the way they have presented this dream to you. So think about it from that perspective. There is no if I had a magic solution to selling, then I would have actually given it out. But the honest answer is, and I don't think any salesperson can put their hand on heart and say this, that there is a magic solution to selling. It is a process, and we need to understand the process.
That really makes sense. Gives a very broad perspective about the culture, how to start the initial conversations in different areas. Makes sense. There's one question. I mean, we are past 7, so I'll not take much of a time. I'll just take one question from the audience. How is the work culture in TCS different across different projects or locations? Does it play any role? This is a very short one.
Yeah, so again, see, the thing is like, I would not like to take this forum to discuss about internal workings in TCS, because then it goes to a different way. But since still this question has come, let me answer it in this way. If you're talking about how the work culture in TCS is in India compared to the Western world, again, as I mentioned, that culture plays a big role. And today, the way we are structured as an organization is TCS France is a French company. What I mean by that is there are approximately 3,000 people working in TCS France, out of which more than 2,000 people are French people. So it is a French company where we are also working alongside them. So obviously, the way the French companies behave, a lot of that cultural aspect have come into this TCS France. Having said that, there are certain core values that TCS as an organization follows, and it's called as the 5 pillars of Tata Group, because TCS is part of the Tata Group, which is empathy, respect for individual, and then like this. So all those things will always be the core pillars and the fabric of the company. But based on these specific markets, the needs and the asks and the kind of people and the local culture, it changes. Now within India, again, I think India, although we are a big country, each state is like an individual country. The way we will work or do business might be at some level similar, but again, each and every region has its own specific flavors. So I would like to say that when it's very difficult to say that whether the culture or the way of working is same across multiple locations in TCS, and maybe the answer is no, but doesn't mean that it is good or bad. It means that based on the need of that specific geo, we had to adapt and adopt so that we do justice to our employees who are working for us, and they in turn also get an environment where they feel confident, comfortable, and safe to deliver what TCS requires.
Absolutely makes sense. To respect different geographies and to adapt and blend into the culture with by following the original roots from where you come from and how the things are taking place. It is a very righteous solution to have while building an organization which is doing tremendously well. Apart from that, I mean, we are done with the time. I'll not extend this furthermore. Thank you so much. A big kudos to you for taking out time from your busy schedule and finally agreeing to do this with us. Your words of wisdom have been really enlightening. It gives a very broad perspective around the business side as well as the tech side, domestically as well as internationally. There are lots of questions we didn't went or dive into the Australian continental angle to it much more, but yeah, maybe let's keep that conversation for some other day. Again, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. All the best for your a fabulous career ahead.
Thank you so much, and I would also like to wish all the best to all of you. I think this is a fantastic initiative, and these kind of initiatives are important because we need these kind of forums so that people come and share their perspectives. As I mentioned, that when you hear different perspectives from different people's lenses, you see that how certain people work in certain ways. So some of the answers that I gave from my perspective, someone else might have a different perspective, and that is absolutely okay. But
Correct.
it is important to be open to these perspectives. So first of all, I think that this is a really good forum, and these kind of things should be organized more and more. And secondly, for everyone who has joined, if you would like to have if you have any further questions, you can obviously reach out to me on LinkedIn. And if you also want, you can be connected with me on LinkedIn. I keep on sharing bits and pieces all the time, which I play around with, and I also share my perspectives. So if that helps you in certain shape or form, we can definitely continue the conversation further. Thank you, and I wish everyone a good evening. Bye
Thank
bye.
you so much. Have a wonderful day. Your day might just get started. And I have shared your LinkedIn profile over the chat. So those who are in the meeting and other platforms as well, it has been shared. So please, you can directly connect. Thank you
Sure.
so much.
Thank you. Have a nice evening. Bye bye.
Likewise. Bye.